free to contact Dr. Peter, or if he has an email address out there, you can contact me as well. And again, thank you for your time, and let me know if there's any other questions you have.
Any questions for Dr. Reuter? I have a basic question. I was the one coughing, so I had to step out. You might have addressed this, but how did you find your position after you finished?
I'm a little far away. I couldn't pick up that question.
I'll step up to the mic.
Better already.
How did you find your own position after you finished your Ph.D. degree?
Well, as I was writing my dissertation, my wife was about 8.5 months pregnant, and she just kept telling me, "You need to get a job." And I'm like, "I'm writing my dissertation." So she actually assisted me, and she must have said, we knew we wanted to stay in Florida, being from Florida for the majority of my life. So she sent out probably, I don't mean to discourage you, 50 resumes in Central Florida for anything that had related to do with microbiology. I got a couple of responses back. One was actually USF, where I interviewed, and then one was here. They called me up. It just was convenient timing. They were looking for someone. I interviewed, and the rest is history from that part. But we've grown significantly since I started, and we're constantly looking for new talents and more scientists. We currently have 3 PhD scientists working here, and a handful of other bachelor's level and master's level scientists. So I'd encourage any of you to look out when you get to that point in time.
And did your skill set match perfectly for the job, or did you have to do a lot of on-the-job learning after you started?
I would say your skill set will rarely fit with the job that you're interviewing for until you've maybe got so much experience in an industry that people look for you, which I haven't gotten there quite yet. But and that was kind of my point before. I think it's a good question. It's about learning to learn, and that I really believe that's the most important key throughout your graduate career. Obviously, you're learning all the building blocks, and that's very important, and understanding everything. Comprehension, I think, is first, but next to that is the ability to learn how to problem solve and figure things out. I had done no fermentation before I came here. I had never worked with Bacillus or Pseudomonas, which are the 2 most important genus that we work with here, and so it was almost completely foreign to me. You have to have that ability to adapt. I looked at it as a wonderful challenge. Hopefully you will do the same, but don't feel frustrated if you feel like you don't fit. If you are looking for career paths out there, my recommendation is to submit an application anywhere in the ballpark, because you just never know. And to be honest with you, even when I look at someone coming out, especially with positions like bachelor's or master's, but even PhD, when I look at someone coming out, I don't look as much at their resume as I do. I build more judgment on a person during the interview, and how they just cut their certain vibe or how you come across is more important to me than the majority of what's on a resume. I don't think most people even look through that as extensively as we often tend to make resumes out. No one's looking that you did a presentation on blah, blah, blah in 2008. It's just not that big of a deal. So be prepared for the presentation, be confident, or the interview, be confident, and just, be as willing as you can to show the interviewer that, you're there to do whatever they need you to do. And that would be my advice for that.
I had a question. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. What do the entry-level jobs look like for a PhD fresh out?
What do entry-level jobs look like for a PhD straight out of college?
Yeah, like what type of work would you be doing, training? Yeah, I liked how you had that little chart showing the different levels in the company.
Yeah, let's go back there.
Departments. What kind of things would you do fresh out as a PhD, like in those departments? Because you mentioned that you need a scientist to, even in sales and these other departments,
Right,
need somebody
right.
with a kind of background.
Right. You could really get into, especially in our companies, I'd say a smaller company, we have about 45 people, so we're growing, but there are companies out there that are massive and have thousands of people, and they're going to be hiring PhD directly out of your seat there that will go into either research and development, QA, QC. Typically, you'd be more at the manager. With a PhD, you'd probably get at the manager level. Fermentation, certainly. Regulation, you'd probably be more at a manager level. I mean, I could even see purchasing in a large enough company where the types of products they're buying are so specific that they don't want to take a chance that someone's getting it wrong. And again, it's sales. There's a lot of salespeople out there for those larger companies that have PhDs because, again, when you're talking technical with another multi-billion-dollar company, you need someone who knows their stuff from the top to the bottom. So, again, not that you would have to know it the second you came out of college and you joined their force, and people understand that. They know you're not going to come in and just going to take the reins and run right away. It's going to take months to a year, a little more, for you to get, your foundation under you to understand their products, their products, processes. So I think anywhere you go, you're going to get that safety net, so to speak, for the first year or so. But I think any of these areas, again, it's usually depending on the size of the company about what types of levels they're going to be. Obviously, in R&D, there's plenty of room out there for hiring PhDs. That's going to be the biggest one. But I always wanted to bring up, don't try to put yourself in a small spot. Keep your mind open to these other areas, and even based upon your searches, if you're doing internet searches or you're looking on, Job Builder or whatever it is, keep some of these other keywords available because you might miss out something if you're looking too specifically for research. Did that answer your question? Mm-hmm. Probably more than you wanted, huh?
Are there still positions open for people that just finished their bachelor's degrees, or is it mainly masters and above that are getting hired these days?
No, I would say there's probably more positions for people with their bachelor's. Obviously, they're not going to be as high of the positions, but there's many entry-level positions. For instance, if you have a quality control lab, you're going to have one, quality control manager that's going to be the PhD. Other than that, you might have a dozen technicians who are working there. Those people typically are not PhD scientists; they're bachelor's, master's degrees. So for every one PhD, there's probably 5 to 10, bachelor's positions available. But again, that's based upon company size and department. So I'm not trying to concern anyone, and not that all of those jobs are available. But when you find a situation like that, it's typically you'll have PhDs overseeing bachelor's and master's students. At least in industry, it gets a little bit different. Obviously, in academia, that's the way I've seen it in industry for the most part. And the larger you get in a company, that tier kind of broadens. So it's not just the top person in the department. You could have the PhD that are 4 people down from the top person. So that's when you get probably the most opportunities there in terms of finding jobs for all levels. But
do we have any other questions for Dr. Reuter? No, one more.
Yeah.
Okay.
There is a common notion in our field that, generally in biology or biomedical sciences that you need to have a PhD to really go higher in the ranks or in whatever company that you're doing. But if you take engineering or other, say, for example, computer science or anything else, you can really go to the top with just like an undergraduate degree or something. So do you think that notion is true, having some experience in the industry yourself, or am I being wrong here?
No, I mean, the opportunity is there. It takes the right person, the right position, with the right company, but there's nothing stopping you from going to the top without having a PhD. And sometimes, PhDs are almost put in a category where they're not opened up to other things just because you foresaw that yourself doing a particular research goal. I remember being in graduate school thinking, boy, I don't want to go into academia because my PI is constantly writing papers and I want to be at the bench. Well, now that I'm more in the manager role, I'm barely at the bench anymore. So you'll never exactly, in order to keep going, you kind of have to lose, to the top, so to speak. You kind of have to lose that mentality of what you may have thought when you first came out. But again, if you look with people in sales, salespeople sometimes make ridiculous amounts of money. If you can pull in the accounts, pull in the big accounts within sales, but as you mentioned too, with engineering or any of those types of backgrounds, no, I don't think a PhD is absolutely necessary to get there. I think it's the type of person you are, how driven you are, how motivated, and what you have. Certainly, without a PhD, you're going to be limited in certain areas. But there's once you get out there, for those of you going into industry, it's hard for me to even explain the differences to what you're used to right now in academia. It's a whole new world, and you'll see there's all sorts of different areas to move up in, and it'll be things that you would have never thought of. So it's just kind of part of the excitement of going out and seeing what's all there.
Thanks.
I'm thinking if you work with sales, or as you say, it's a whole new world in industry. Working with people from business administration backgrounds, do you see that, or a pool of candidates where you have a master's in sciences versus somebody with an MBA? How is that from your perspective, having those?
You mean someone with a scientific degree versus an MBA, or someone that has both?
Versus, like you said that you could teach a scientist to sell, but people who go into business administration just do that initially.
Right. There's certainly going to be a lot of positions out there for someone in business administration. I can't say I'm the best person to ask about it. It's a little outside of where I see. I know within our company, obviously, you have to have. We have our administration, so you have managers that are running the front office. You have managers in accounting. So whatever specific area that your business administration would be in, there's going to be areas in these companies that are looking for that as well. Honestly, I just don't know enough about it to give you much more than that.
Thank you.
No other questions? All right, well then, thanks again, Dr. Reuter, for your talk. We appreciate your time. Okay, that concludes today's presentation. We'll have another one next month. We have one speaker. You want to say something about our speaker next month?
He's Dr. Nataraj. He currently he's had a few startups, and he is a person that worked both in industry and in academia. So he's going to give us a perspective of what's the difference between a university setting and an industry setting, and his own experiences with probably whatever the companies that he is successfully.
And I'll be trying to recruit a couple other speakers from industry as well. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
Thanks, Chris.
Okay.
Thanks.
Again, Jen.
Hey,
Take
you
care.
bet. I appreciate it.
Anything else I can do? Maybe one day I can get out and do it live.
Hey, that'd be great.
That would be awesome.
Thanks a
But
lot.
It was an interesting experience, and
Yeah, I'm just
I learned about the guys. So I appreciate it.
Okay, great. Well, I really appreciate it too.
Okay, take care.
You too.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye. Okay, that is done.
Yeah, we're pretty well.
Yeah.